Hello everyone and welcome back to We Lift Big. And this week I am so excited to do a part 2 for UNGAME questions, and I will post the link down below in the comments so you can check out the UNGAME questions and whether or not you are seeing people for Thanksgiving this week, whether that will be through Zoom or you're just getting together with your family and there's that uncle or aunt or cousin that you haven't spoken to in forever. These are some great icebreakers to get you started. And so enjoy. And I'm going to have one word on what Thanksgiving really means to me in terms of gratitude and all that jazz at the end of the podcast. And so I hope you guys are having a beautiful week, and the holidays are coming. It's getting crazy, and I hope you're getting your time in at the gym, the outdoor walks, all of that good stuff. And I just hope you are well. So here's our first question. Say something about jokes. I believe that jokes allow us to talk about hard topics. And I think that's the beautiful thing about comedians. And so someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but a comedian's work in a lot of ways originated hundreds of years ago, if not thousands of years ago, where the joker in, say, a kingdom, kings and queens and all of that, the joker was the only person who could poke fun at the royal family and get away with it. If anyone else tried to poke fun at the royal family, they would get executed. I think that's accurate. I might be wrong. I would love for someone to say if that's accurate or not. But essentially, comedians, part of their job allows them to sometimes talk about these really hard topics that are not otherwise able to be spoken about without people getting emotional or triggered in any sort of way. And kind of on the more extreme side, talking about really hard things, but also just making light heart of situations. I believe that jokes offer a shift in perspective. And so sometimes it's to make light heart of things. I think oftentimes it is, but that is something about jokes. So question number 2. What is something I wish new trainers knew about training? So this is actually not one of the UNGAME questions. This is a question that I inserted that I have talked about with a lot of my colleagues, past colleagues, trainer friends, and what is something I wish new trainers knew when coming into training? Like, what is something I wish I knew when I was becoming a trainer? When you're working with a client, yes, you are teaching people how to do certain exercises and how to develop a routine and how to practice healthy eating and how to do all of these things that support a healthy lifestyle or work someone towards a goal. But the how, to me, is really the frosting on the cake per se. The real breading, the meat of a trainer's work, in my opinion, is helping people discover why. Not just how we do these exercises, but why do we do them? Not just how to eat, not just how to gain weight or lose weight or build muscle, but why we do these certain things that they do. And in particular, I think the best whys are ones that are self-manifested or self-agreed upon. And so it's the difference between me trying to tell you, oh, this is why you do something. Like, yes, I can tell you why you do something, but if you don't embody that as your part of your own why, it's probably not going to stick in the long term. And so not only are you teaching people like physical movement and nutrition and healthy habits, but you are getting to know people at their core and understanding how people tick And so in a way, you're not just a trainer. You wear lots of different hats. You are also creating your own value. And so as a personal trainer, you have to work yourself to a point where you are comfortable with yourself so that you are able to build that trust and rapport with someone. All right, so next question. What do I do when I am alone? Honestly, if I was to just label all the things that I do off the top of my head, I do a lot of hiking and running. I spend a lot of time outdoors. In fact, that is one of the biggest shifts of things that have happened for me this year is I've started spending way more time outdoors, hiking and running and listening to audiobooks and podcasts. And before COVID times, like eating at a cafe by myself, you could find me there. I do a lot of cooking. I watch a lot of kind of TED Talks, YouTube, audiobooks. I do a lot of cleaning around my house just because my house is kind of small, and so like things tend to build up pretty fast if I'm not on top of it. I daydream. But I have to say the biggest things, like if you're like, what does Bria do when she's alone? I'm either probably listening to a podcast or an audiobook, and I'm probably going to be outside. I won't even be in my house. I spend probably most of my time, at least right now, outdoors when I can. Next question, what would you like to do to become famous? Well, this. This podcast, so my thing about fame, I would love to see this podcast grow and see my work grow. And the fame itself, at least for me, fame has never been so much about, oh, look at me and all the cool things I can do and all the cool topics I can talk about. But it's more so, the more known I am, the more people I can reach. And so at least for myself, it's not just about how cool am I? Like, yes, I like to think I'm a pretty cool person, but it's more so about how do I reach the next person? How do I reach this group of people? How do I reach this individual? How do I make them feel loved and valued? And I think the more known you are, the more you're able to reach more people. So for me, fame is not so much about being famous as it is having an outreach of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands or millions of people. And so in that way, if there's anything that would bring me to fame, aside from training, would honestly be this podcast. I would love to see this podcast just reach more and more ears. And so please continue to share it with your friends, family, all that good stuff. And next question, advice you would give a younger brother or sister about life? That's a good question. So my siblings and I are pretty close in age. And I have to say, my brother is an incredibly wise man. And so he oftentimes gives me advice about life, which I love so much. But sometimes when I think of this question, I think about just young people in general. What's something that I wish young people knew? And the number one thing that I wish young people knew is that when you are young, so especially if you're in school, and I know that's a little bit different now just given the times, but when we're young, our world seems so small. And the more you grow, the more you realize just how big the world is and how much is going to happen in your life that is amazing, that is horrible. And the bigger your world grows, and that's the thing. And so, a decade ago, what does that put me? Age 16? Like, I was worried about who am I going to go to prom with, or who am I, like, how am I going to get this exam done? It's like, okay, a decade later, the things that I experience in my life, the good, the bad, the ugly, and the beautiful, are so much crazier than my 16-year-old brain could ever comprehend. And that's the thing, like, the older you grow, the more you realize people are going to come and go in your life all the time. It's not like school where you see people all the time and it's the same people year after year after year. It's like, no, like, once you're done with school, like, once you're out in the world, people are going to come and go all the time. You're going to jump from job to job. You're going to foster relationships and break relationships, and your perspectives are going to change in all sorts of different ways. And that's just the nature of life. And it gets crazier as you get older, honestly. But you also get stronger. That's the thing, is you become stronger and wiser, but it's beautiful. And so to anyone, especially any young person who feels trapped right now, the world is so much bigger than you know. It is so much more vast, and there are so many opportunities in life. And so just keep going. The big things in your life right now will eventually be the small things, and there are bigger things to come. So anyways, that's my piece on that. Okay, so that's all the questions that I have for today. And again, there are so many more questions. I'm gonna repost the link for UNGAME questions in the description box below. And one final word: happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Happy Thanksgiving. And I know for all of us, Thanksgiving is probably looking a little different than it has looked in years past, whether you're having a smaller get-together or you're having a Zoom Thanksgiving. I've heard a lot of people are doing Thanksgiving through Zoom, and I wanted to talk about gratitude. I think last year I kind of gave a cheat sheet of how to survive the holidays, and I'll post that podcast down below. And I kind of wanted to skip the food this year and just talk about gratitude in general, because for myself, Thanksgiving for me is about gratitude, and there's lots of historical significance and a lot of things that go into Thanksgiving, but for me, it's about giving thanks. And I was talking to a client the other day, and we were talking about how she feels like, and I totally agree with her, Thanksgiving is one of the only holidays in which things are kind of more at peace. Like, Christmas generally tends to be crazy, New Year's Eve tends to be crazy, Valentine's Day tends to be crazy, but Thanksgiving is just one of those holidays where you really get to slow down. Like, obviously there's like the prep and the baking, and if you're hosting people and all of that craziness, but the day of, at least for myself, I've generally experienced a time of reflection. And I think that Thanksgiving is a really powerful time to be reflective. And so, like I often do, I jumped into Google definitions, and I wanted to look up gratitude, and I wanted to look up thankful. And so the definition of gratitude is readiness to show appreciation for and to return kindness. And to be thankful is to express gratitude, pleasure, and or relief. And I want to pause a little bit on the relief, because this caught me didn't catch me off guard, but I did kind of stop and reread it. It's like, okay, being thankful is about relief. Like, relief is an element of gratitude. And that's just so true and beautiful, because when you think about gratitude, in order to truly have gratitude towards something, you have to let go of expectations. To be thankful for something is to acknowledge it and accept it in its purest form, or just for what it is. When we're thankful for something, we're not necessarily trying to tweak it or change it. We are looking at it and acknowledging it for what it is, which means no expectations. We are taking it as it is and loving it for as it is and accepting it in that way. And I think it's very true that there is relief in that. When we release expectations, when we see things as they are, there's this relief of like, I don't have to manipulate this or change this or myself. I just get to be. And my world just gets to be. And that's a beautiful thing. And so I highly recommend that everyone, tomorrow is Thanksgiving, and I highly recommend that everyone, I challenge you, take a little bit of time tomorrow, whether you are with family, enjoying food, just wherever you are, take 30 minutes, 15 minutes, just whatever time you have, and just be still. Be still, be thankful. Find something to be thankful for. There are always things to be thankful for. And even if it's just that moment, be thankful for that moment to just be and find relief, because it has been a wild year, and it is one of the best things that we can do for ourselves is to just be for a day. I am so thankful for you all. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I will talk to you guys next week. Have a beautiful Thanksgiving. Enjoy yourselves, and I will talk to you next week. Peace.